We're just tiptoeing up to August. Like August, things get really quiet in the National Hockey League. It's 100% hockey with Millard and Shannon. This year, it might be a little different because there's still a number of things to deal with before the start of training camps.
Well, let's face it. June was wild, correct? June was wild on every level, not just the draft, not just the the start of potential free agency in July 1st. But so many teams with player movement earlier in the month, and during the Stanley Cup final, it was a crazy June, and I think people actually took a step back once free agency ended, and it has been relatively quiet in July, save for the Detroit news and then Patrick Kane signing with the Blackhawks. It's been a really, really quiet July. So I think your logic about what's going to happen in August might actually be true. And so from that
there's
perspective,
questions. What's Winnipeg doing? What's Detroit going to do?
But here's the thing.
So Montreal got more to do. Ottawa's poking their nose around.
If a team doesn't appear to do anything, does that mean that they're still going to do something? And a lot of the managers in this league, they're quiet at the best of times. So if they don't do anything, are we suggesting that they're done? And like you talked about Winnipeg, Kevin Cheveldayoff is one of the most discreet guys you're ever going to meet. Mm-hmm. You're not going to hear very much out of him. We all assume that there's noise around Connor Hellebuck, but nothing's happened yet. We assume that they're still trying to, in Winnipeg, get a second-line center, but nothing's happened. But that's been the story for 4 years in Winnipeg. So it's one of those ones where you look at August and say, well, these guys haven't done anything. Perhaps they're not going to do anything at all. And they're going to see what happens with any of these rosters they have now for the start of the season.
Doug on the podcast last week talked about Detroit going data-driven for their general manager. You hearing the same thing? Or is it wide open?
Well, it's very quiet. The only thing that I was told was that it's going to take a lot longer than people realize. We're not talking about an imminent hiring.
So I wonder what that means with Dylan Larkin in that situation.
Well, and again, I think that's fair, and until further notice, Steve is still, walking around the office, and there still have to be decisions made, so that he's still in a maintenance position within the hockey club. But I was told that this is something that may not be rectified until September.
Big news out of Seattle. On the broadcasting side, Eddie Olczyk has announced that he's going to step away from the Kraken telecast, and he's going to join us in just a little bit.
I tell you what, that is that's big news. It's I'm sure people in Seattle are disappointed. Eddie Olczyk created a level of prestige for that broadcast with John Forsland, and they became great messengers for the game of hockey in Seattle. So I'm sure John's disappointed, and I'm sure that the team is disappointed. But in the end, we'll hear from Eddie, about his decision and why he did it. But from that perspective, it's another challenge for a team that hasn't been able to acquire free agents, whether it be Artemi Panarin or Jason Robertson. And then we'll see what happens in Seattle.
Get to Eddie Olczyk next. Breaking news on his front. On 100% Hockey with Millard and Shannon. Stay with us.
Face Off Inside the NHL returns, taking you deeper behind the scenes than ever before. See it all from the star-studded Four Nations Face Off tournament.
Us against the world, boys.
To the adrenaline of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I'm scared of you guys.
With candid interviews and backstage access, experience the sacrifice, the rivalries, and the determination that define NHL greatness.
Just when I thought last year couldn't be topped, here we are.
A new season of Face Off Inside the NHL. Watch now only on Prime Video.
John's decided that we're going to break some news. So here's Eddie Olczyk. It's not the type of news that I'd expect because we're following the National Hockey League. And so, but you got your own breaking news going here. What's happening with Seattle?
Well, Mallard and Mr. Shannon, nice to be with you guys. And yeah, I didn't realize that today would be the day that the Kraken and I have announced that I'm going to step away from the Kraken Hockey Network, and
Wow.
I'm going to head back home to Chicago. It's been great 4 years. It's been a long 4 years, and this decision has been in the making for, I'd probably say, two American Thanksgivings ago, where just chronologically. After I retired in the 99-2000 season here in Chicago with the Blackhawks, I got the TV color analyst job with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And of course, I played in the Burgh, coached in the Burgh, and broadcast there. And my first legit local TV gig was with the great late Mike Lang. And I worked there for 3 years, but I commuted. I left my family at home. And then got the coaching bug while I was in Pittsburgh, and was there for almost 3 seasons, and then I got fired at Christmas of '05, and then eventually got back to Chicago '06, and I worked with the Blackhawks from '06 all the way into, what was that, 22, 23. Don't quote me. I need my abacus and my toes to be able to add all those numbers up. And the last 4 years commuting between Chicago and Seattle, there have been no home games with my family here, my wife here, my grandkids, and it just became something where I really felt, well, as you guys all know, this game can take you away from your family, and when you don't have any home games, it makes it really difficult. So I think for the first time, and the broadcasting part of it, especially the first 3 years commuting to Pittsburgh, and the last 4, no home games. And then when you're coaching for almost 3 years, you don't have a lot of home games because you're always at the office or you're traveling or whatever. So Cliff Notes version, I think for the first time in 25 years, I've made the decision that, in all due respect, I'm not going to be selfish anymore, and my family's going to come first when it comes to the local part of it. I'm still going to be doing my TNT stuff, but that's once a week for the most part. And I've decided to go back home to Chicago, and for the first time in a long time, as far as in the broadcast aspect of it, I will not be a part of a team when it comes to a local broadcast, a full-time gig with the local broadcast. So I'm looking forward to it. I feel really good since I let the Kraken know, and they were great about it. Gonna miss sitting next to Johnny each and every night and for Kraken hockey, but the time is right, and it was a hard decision, but really at the end of the day, it was relatively easy to tell the Kraken that I felt this would be best for me and my family, and that's why we come to the decision.
Well, short of having to wear a name tag at home for the first year, the exciting part for me when you went to Seattle, Eddie, was you were going to work with Nick.
Yeah.
And that really, that was something special, and that had to be a lure for you to make that decision to commute as much as you did.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, something that was very important. Obviously, my brother Ricky is an AGM there. My son Eddie's an amateur there in Seattle, an amateur scout. And of course, Ronnie Francis is one of my closest and best friends that I have in the world. And I never thought in a million years that I would that I would leave Chicago. But sometimes things happen. Look, I got traded out of my hometown, and I came back 11 years later and finished my last 2 years in the NHL with my hometown team. So. Things happen, and it was an outstanding experience. But yeah, I mean, getting a chance to be with Nick and watch him develop and mature and live together until he went off to Utah, and now is doing a great job with their broadcasts, and he's got a great team there. It was a big part of that decision because it was a family decision, and excuse me. I just lost my mom, and obviously for my brother Rick, and it was a difficult time around the family as well. So I think was the opportunity ever going to be there again? And that's where we were, and here we are now. But I'm thankful for the opportunity, and just looking forward to what might be on the horizon. But this is going to be my base. This is going to be home, and yes, I will need to wear a name tag around the house, and I'm sure the dogs will be happy. I'm not sure if my wife's going to be overly happy with me being home more, but this is where we are, and I'm very much at peace with the decision, and I'm very excited about this upcoming season, and be rested a little bit more. I know that for sure.
Was this something that was been sort of nibbling away? Did you take it to Diana, or did she kind of read the tea leaves and bring it up to you?
I would say it was a combination, Millard. It was a couple of heart-to-hearts and the understanding of where we are in our lives. And like I said, I think ultimately over the course of the last 20 months, I guess, if you want to say, it was 2 Thanksgivings ago here in the States, that I just felt, and like I said, our life is not going to be based around my schedule anymore for the most part. Look, I'm still, like I said, I'm still doing the TNT stuff and whatever, but it's, like the local part of that, which has been unbelievable, and kind of learned my way and earned my craft into this unbelievable business through the local aspect of it. And like I said, in Pittsburgh for 3 years, and then 16 here in Chicago, and now the last 4 in Seattle. So very thankful for that. But I just think that as you get a little bit older, and I got I think it's a big birthday coming up. I'd like to say I'm 50 plus 10 coming up in August, but I think sometimes a dose of reality and a not just a step back, Millard, but a few steps back, and then you get an overview of everything. You sit there and go, you know what? I know this is right, and I've kind of tried to live like that. Usually your first instinct is the right one. It just took me, it took me 20 months to act on it. But even though I probably knew each day from the last 20 months is that it was just going to be inevitable, and to get back home.
How much, or how many times did Diana say, are you sure?
Honestly?
Because it's hard to get.
Honestly, when I told her what I was going to do, there wasn't any sure. I think she knew, because we had many conversations, and
Good.
When the timing would be right for, and all due respect for everybody. And so I'm thankful that we've gotten to this point. Like I said, I have no idea what's ahead, but I'm looking forward to the start of the season, and being home a lot more. And like I said, you got 4. I got 4 little Olczyks, three with my son Eddie, and 1 with my son Tommy, and I get an opportunity as often as I can to do those grandpa things with them, and I'll have more time to be around and just be available, and on the drop of a hat, or a phone call or a text saying, hey, can you, and not have any hesitation that I'm within 8 minutes of one son and 20 minutes of the other, where I can, do those things that that are important to us, especially at this stage of my life and my professional career.
I remember talking with you at the celebration of life we had for Greg Millen, Eddie.
Yeah.
About this very thing, and about quality of life, and taking advantage of it. And then not only did Greg pass, but your great pal Troy Murray passed. And you do have to reflect and decide. Sometimes you can be happy outside the broadcast booth too, and have a good life outside the broadcast booth. Because let's face it, it's the most fun place to be to work. When you're working, there's no better place to be. But You know what? There are other things that could drive you and make you happy.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and Mr. Shannon, and you hit it right on the head. There are these gut checks and reality checks, and realizing that in the big picture, we are all day to day, and you mentioned two outstanding people and human beings that we all know, and like a guy like Troy Murray, who I came into the National Hockey League. He was a guy, believe it or not, I'll tell this quick story. When I was aspiring to be a young hockey player coming out of Chicago, I got a connection somehow. My dad got a connection with the late, great Bob Pulford, Mr. Pulford, passing away here recently as well. And just, helped me guide my path from Chicago. What would be the next step, to go play major junior or try out for the Olympic team. And then, just all that. So we had a meeting with Mr. Pulford, and he helped kind of guide me a little bit. And then after I had made the decision to leave home and go play junior B hockey in Stratford, Ontario, I got the invitation to try out for the Olympic team. And Mr. Pulford checked back in, and he said, I want you to have lunch with one of our young rookies who just came from the University of North Dakota, and is going to be a great two-way centerman for us for many years. And so after one of the seasons, I met Troy Murray. I was probably 16, turning 17, and Troy was probably 19, just out of Nodak. And Mr. Pulford set up a lunch. So here I am as a lifelong Blackhawk fan, an aspiring NHL player. And here I am having lunch with a rookie in the National Hockey League, a guy that I used to pick up the Hockey News and the Hockey Digest and read about his ventures with Team Canada and the World Juniors, and captaining that team, and then coming to the Blackhawks. And we built a friendship from there. And then we played together. We played on the famous line for the Blackhawks, the Clydesdales, me, Troy, and Kurt Frazier, coined by the great Hall of Famer Pat Foley, all because we were all over 6 feet and 200 pounds, which at that time, as you guys both know, that was a pretty big line back in the day. So, we played together. We played together in Winnipeg. We broadcast together for 16 years in Chicago, him on the radio, me on the television. We both married former flight attendants. We both were in each other's weddings. So, my relationship with, I call him Slade. My relationship with Slade goes back a long, long ways. And that, that hit home with his battle with cancer. And so you're right, long-winded. There were and are and there will be continue to have these unfortunate doses of reality where, in the big picture, when we hear coaches in the National Hockey League and GMs fluff things off when players are banged up, and they give up the old, well, he's day to day, and aren't we all in the big picture of everything? So, but yeah, like I said, it's been there, and I just honestly I feel better that I acted on it, and after I told the Kraken, I just kind of feel, I don't want to say I feel better because, obviously there's a lot of emotion there, but I know it was time, and I know it's right, regardless of, of the circumstance.
What do you think Muzz would say to you right now about this decision?
He'd probably say, hey, you're almost home.
Yeah.
That's what he would say. Yeah. I know he would say that. And I'll leave it open-ended on that. That's what he would say. He'd go, hey, you're almost home. Okay.
Tell you what, just before we go to break, Daren, Mike Lang, Pat Foley, Doc Emmerich, Kenny Albert, John Forsland.
Yeah, I'm smart. I know. I'm smart.
Could you pick a dog once in a while?
Oh, hey. I just work with the people I'm told to work with. You know, I'll be honest with you. I got stories on all those guys too. You know, I mean, they could be -1 every once in a while. I could give them all a minus every once in a while. There's one Mikey Lang. Man, another. I mean, like my first partner took me under his wing and. You know, he goes, I'll be back. If I'm not back, you're gonna have to call the game. I go, what do you mean? Where are you going? He goes, I gotta go have a dart. I don't know. Right. I'm gonna get stuck somewhere. So sure enough, we're in Long Island. We're at the Coliseum, and all of a sudden he goes into the back staircase up there, and the one guy said, "Yeah, you keep the door open," and then the security guy disappeared, and the door closed. Mikey couldn't get in. He had to walk all the way down the flight of stairs, go back to the media entrance. There's like 3 minutes left to go. It's like my first year. And our producer and our director go, it's all you, Ed. So I'm like, what do you mean it's all me? He goes, yeah, you gotta bring us back on the air, and hopefully Mikey's back. I go, he better be back. I'm not going to be calling the game. So that's where we got the inside joke of Mikey got stuck in the elevator because there were 3 or 4 times in our 3 years together he missed the start of the period because he got locked out at a building or whatever, and there I am calling my first, and it was brutal, by the way, and of course, as he called him the commander. Of course, Alexei Kovalev has to score on a power play, and I give my best impression where I give it and it ends up being the call of the game, of course, because they wanted to embarrass the shit out of me. So and then after the play, I think I had to give Sam Rosen like $19 because I said it's a power play goal. And Mikey will never let me down about that. He goes, "Oh, you and Sam, you got a little Sam Rosen in you there." And I'm like, "Yeah." So, anyways, yeah, I'm a little smarter than I look, but yeah, I could. Those guys could have a couple of minuses. We'll keep those. We'll keep those between us.
Let's take a break. We'll come back with more of Eddie Olczyk on
we're going to talk hockey, right? We're going to talk hockey. Okay.
With Millard and Shannon.
With the NHL app, you can listen to every NHL game right from your phone. And with home and away broadcast feeds, you choose your way to listen.
And he scores!
Whether you're at work, at the gym, or stuck in traffic, the NHL app puts you right in the action all season long. Every team, every game, everywhere you go. Download the NHL app and never miss a moment.
Okay, Shannon, what would you have done if you've got Edzo alone in the booth? How do you talk him through that?
Play music. No, I'm just kidding.
That's a pretty good answer.
Yeah.
No,
he's going to play taps. He's going to play taps.
No, you'd be, and we've all had it happen. You're sitting in the truck, and the play-by-play guy. Some guys, it's a cigarette. Other guys, it's nature calling. It's one of those things, and so you go in the color man's ear and you say, okay, just tell me what's going on. Do you see that down there? What you do, just don't use my name and don't talk to me. Just tell me what you see. That's all you do. And then just like Eddie was, you'd be praying where the F is the goddamn play-by-play guy.
and knowing Mikey, just to cap off that story, knowing Mikey, he probably... there was no urgency. The only urgency was to get to the end of the dart. That was about it. There was no urgency because he knew when he walked into the stairwell. I remember it was like 3.5 minutes. He goes, I'm gonna go have a quick dart. I go, Mikey goes, don't worry, I'll be back. That's all. Don't worry about it.
That's good. I had not heard that story.
He's locked out. out.
That's like the famous story of in Atlanta when Fred Shero was coaching the Rangers. They were playing the Atlanta Flames, and before the game, Fred goes for a walk around the lower concourse at the Omni then, and opens a door and walks through the door and ends up outside. ends up outside, and he's got to walk, and the door, obviously it's a fire escape door, so it's only one way, so he has to walk around to the general admission area where all and he says, and it's Fred Shiro, right? So he's got a cigarette going, and he's got the smoked glasses, and he's a little scruffy, and he says, "I got to get in. I'm the coach of the Rangers." And the guy says, "You're not the coach of the Rangers."
Yeah, exactly. That's the part probably was the hardest one, was getting by security to get back in without a ticket.
I thought he was going to have to buy a ticket and get in.
So you have your big news, and the Blackhawks also have big news with Patrick Kane returning. Were you surprised at that development?
Was I surprised? Maybe a little. But again, I know there were more teams that had tapped into into his phone than that was being reported. I think that there were some teams that were trying to finagle and maneuver some financials and to figure it out. But I think for him to get a chance to obviously be a super important part of a team that that needs his leadership and has been around, and obviously, a Blackhawk legend. And, to me, being a Chicago guy, I think I have a lot of knowledge on the franchise, and in all due respect to the players that I looked up to as a kid, and then the guys I played with, and then all the players that have come after, and playing here, with everything that he has accomplished to this point, and there's still a few more chapters to be written. Is that, Kaner is the greatest Blackhawk ever to wear the sweater, and he is the greatest American-born player ever to play in the National Hockey League. And for him to decide to come back to play, not just sit here and, as he talked about in his presser, to have accolades and gifts thrown his way, coming back and just kind of ride off into the sunset, I think is the verbiage that he used, that he knows he can perform, and he's going to make. He's always had the ability to make other players better, and I think that's what's a sign of a great player. Doesn't matter the skill set, doesn't matter what position. When you have a player like that means a lot, and this team certainly needs that. And with the injury to Connor McDavid, there'll be time to see if they play together and it could mesh together. He's going to help their power play tremendously. I think Connor McDavid will be getting passes and plays that he has not yet seen on his stick at the National Hockey League level. And I think the impact, not only short term with his role, but I think 3, 5, 7 years down the road, why it was such a great signing by Kyle Davidson, and for Kaner to decide to come back home for at least the next 2 years and figure it out. So I think long-winded Millard, was I surprised? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but not knowing what his goals were or what his thoughts were, moving forward. But I know here in Chicago, I mean, everybody's lathered up already for Blackhawk hockey, that's for sure. And they went out and made the aggressive move for Bowen Byram, which I liked. I liked the aggressiveness. Was it a lot to give up? Yeah, sure it was. But I think Kyle Davidson and Norman McIver are sending a pretty strong message, is that they're expecting to take a next step is when you add the financials and also the type of players that they're bringing in. They need some of their young players to really step up and get them to where they want to get to. Because look, it's been a long time since they've been in the playoffs. And do I think? I believe that they can play health wise. They're going to need to weather the storm without Bedard early because of the shoulder injury. But I think the goal, again, outside perception, is to be playing meaningful games in late February, March, and April for the first time in a long time, And I think that would take a major step. And you just never know, right? With injuries and all these type of things. I mean, who thought that the Winnipeg Jets would fall off as much as they did last year, right? But you just never know around the league who's the team or two or three that maybe take a step back, and who are the other teams that maybe take a step forward. So love for Kaner, and I'm just happy for him and his family first and foremost, is that he wanted to come back home, and it's great for the game of hockey, and it's great for the city of Chicago.
When in his development, because you did have that front row seat, when did he become a leader? Because there was always, to me, he was that cheeky 18-year-old kid that came out of London, and he was cheeky for a while.
Yeah. I would say probably once he got into that 11-12 season-ish, where, I remember having a conversation with him that, just his game in general, you could just see and feel the maturity. Now, again, this is after winning their first cup in 2010. The understanding where he knew and realized and felt that he could become an even more dangerous player, and I'll say a great player, not his words, those are mine, by becoming a dual threat. And I think once he became less predictable, because I don't know what the numbers were early in his career, but I'm going to just say, because I did have one of the best seats in the house of calling, almost every one of his games that he played, that it was probably, I knew up in the press box or the booth that Mr. Shannon, that he would be in that 70 percentile pass first, and turn down the opportunity to shoot the puck. And I think the maturity that he showed on the ice to become less predictable, I think carried over off the ice, and truly became a leader. Still like to have fun, still, was an organic young man. But I think as he got a little bit older and he realizes what he needed to do 24/7, 365 a year, he became at times an unstoppable player. And when you have teams schematically zeroing in on one player and the guy still shows up in the biggest games, that speaks to maturity, and that speaks to greatness. And but I think it was in that stretch in between the first and second cup where, that there were some potholes, but nothing that anybody else has ever faced. But I just think his game on the ice transferred over to off the ice and become a all-around great player, a leader for this franchise.
If we were hanging around the bar talking hockey, I'd love to get your opinion on a couple of things. So throw it out to you, Edmonton, but first Florida. Is there a challenge to what the Tkachuks are going to face, or the Florida Panthers are going to have to navigate with the brothers there?
The only thing they're going to have to worry about is can they win being the favorites. They're the favorite to win the Stanley Cup, in my opinion. I think Billy Zito and his staff have crafted and maneuvered pretty special. You add a guy like Brady Tkachuk, there are very, 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 very few players that are like Brady Tkachuk. So the dynamic of the brothers being there certainly adds to the intrigue of the Florida Panthers, both on and off the ice, which I think is great for the game. And there is no doubt. I spoke to Vinny Viola at a horse racing event.
Oh, a horse racing event! What a shock!
Yeah, what a shock! Yeah. You have one of the greatest owners in horse racing, and then obviously one of the greatest owners in the National Hockey League, with the success and what he's been able to do down there with his wife Teresa. And this was just after they were eliminated from the playoffs. And if you know Vinny, he doesn't like not winning. I'll just say that. And I felt, my words, not his, is the expectations for this upcoming season. Again, this again, I'm going back to, when did they get eliminated? In March sometime, whenever it was. I don't know. So before all of the changes, I got the sense is that my words is that they're going to be back in the Stanley Cup this year. That's what I felt with everything that he had said and the confidence level that he had said it. And obviously we know the history and what they have done winning, and then obviously the year prior of losing in the Cup final. So it wasn't their year. They were banged up, obviously, with the Sasha Barkov injury early. But I think the only thing that they have to, and Paul Maurice will be able to do it because he's got as much experience as anybody, is the understanding of where they are, or where they've been, where they are, and where they're trying to get to, and to know that the most important time will be getting ready for the playoffs. So they're the favorite, in my opinion, and but that would be the only thing, Mallard, to the heart of your question, that I would. That I think they have to now, take the injuries out of it. Obviously, yeah. I mean that's it was catastrophic last year, and just like teams that go on these runs, I think you can put Edmonton in that same picture too. I mean, they played a lot of hockey here, and I mean, and let's add in the Olympics for the most important guys as well. So I think the rest part of it. Will certainly be an important part for Florida and for Edmonton coming forward. But I really like what Florida has done, and I think that in the Eastern Conference, anyways, I think everything goes through Florida.
And Edmonton, more pressure on Babcock or the players?
I think this is squarely on the shoulders of the roster that is assembled. I think that there could be massive changes roster wise if it doesn't go well this year into next summer and then going into the following year. I don't look at, and I'm talking about one guy. I'm talking about Connor McDavid. Do I think, and I know you guys didn't ask me this, but I could feel anytime you talk about Edmonton, it's the most obvious is that. Does he get to the final year of his contract? Can Edmonton afford, I guess, and again, now I'm putting on my time when I was coaching in Pittsburgh in a management hat here. Can we afford to let him play out his contract next year? And it's still 2 hockey seasons ago. I get it. I would be very surprised if he would play it out and leave for nothing. That's just me. I don't, that's just my gut feeling. So the sand in the hourglass, at least for me, says this is the most important season for the players of the Edmonton Oilers. That's just my gut feeling. I don't know what you guys think, but I know he's got 2 years left. Could he play his second year and then could they trade him at the deadline if it's not going well? Yeah, I guess they could, but I just get I feel like it's a 1-year deal, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's kind of how I feel when it comes to Connor McDavid.
Yeah, it's a difficult one in that, I mean, how do you measure that? Do you measure that in terms of if they went back to the conference final or went back to the Stanley Cup final and still didn't win?
Right.
Is that a failure there, and is it time to move on 3 times in 4 years? I mean, that's a fascinating discussion point.
Yeah, it is. It is, and you're right. There are a lot of scenarios to play out, but the hiring of Mike Babcock, somebody that is been a lot of turbulence around Mike over the last handful of years. We understand that, but the success and the expectations, the way that he is coached, you can't argue with what he's, with what he has accomplished internationally, and then obviously in Detroit, and now gets the opportunity to coach the Edmonton Oilers. So, sure, I guess see how the season plays out and what have you. But I just think and I just get the feel with him signing such a shorter term deal as, observing and wanting to see. And look at maybe this is the new way. Maybe this is the new way of players of saying, you know what, to put my plums on the table. I'm going to sign a shorter term deal. That we're expecting the cap to continue to rise, and which I know it is here in the short term, but there are no guarantees here moving forward in a couple of years, and then who knows what's going to happen with expansion and all those type of things. Is do I see him leaving, that being Connor McDavid leaving Edmonton for nothing? And the answer to that would be no. Just again, observation and seeing, just watching from the outside. And, any conversation I've ever had with him, with Connor McDavid, talk about professionalism and respect, and somebody that, knows exactly what he wants. That's the captain of the Edmonton Oilers. But I think that's an unbelievable storyline here moving forward, because you're right, Mr. Shannon, it can go a lot of different directions, individually, team wise. Maybe have this conversation in whatever it is in 8 months, and sit there and go, okay, well, they're here, they're A, B, or C right now. How do we see this thing all playing out? But it'll be really interesting, and I guarantee you there's how many teams do we have in the league now? 32 teams
now.
Yeah. I would imagine 31 teams will have one eyeball on what's going on over there over the course of the next little while.
Well, just an asterisk when you talk about McDavid, the 2-year deal, but the fact that there are now how many guys making more money than him?
Oh yeah. Well, he chose. Yeah, right. I give the guy, for an old guy like me, and playing in the league for 16 years, I give the guy the tip of every hockey helmet I ever put on my head. Like he put his money where his mouth is and was, and he sent a message to the fan base, and he gave the organization an opportunity. Show me, don't tell me, show me. I'm willing to be the best bargain in all of professional sports. And it's time to take the next step. And after the 2 years is up, or whenever he gets to it, where he decides that, that he wants to make a decision on, re-upping or and moving on, the way he has handled this, I think, has been perfect. Yeah, he's probably left how much? How much money has he left on the table over the course of with what he's done? Obviously, the long-term deal that he had, obviously, okay, the projections and whatever. But you're right, there are a lot of guys making more, and that's just the reality of the game. But that's not gonna last. That's not gonna last much longer, I would say. Once his deal's up, regardless of what ends up happening.
Before we let you go, just one of those teams that you loved to play against and hated at the same time, the Detroit Red Wings, going through some tough times. How do you see this playing out there, Eddie?
Was completely caught off guard. I think, like a lot of people, with everything going on, obviously, another tough end of the season. The Dylan Larkin situation, Stevie stepping away. That's a good question. I have no feel. Seems to be very just people that I've talked to and asking around, like we do when we talk to hockey people. It just kind of seems like it's just kind of close to the vest, just like Stevie works, and whether he was in Tampa or is in Detroit. So I really don't. That's one. I would, a guy that I know very well, and Chris Draper. I would love to see him get an opportunity, and But again, I don't know, what their feelings are or what the mandate is. And see how this all plays out. So I'd love to give you a better answer than that, but that's all I got.
That's a good July answer. That's what that is.
yeah. And July's almost over, so I better get ready, because August is right around the corner. And when you're turning 50 plus 10 coming up. You better have your ducks in order, so to speak. And I'm not talking about the Ducks out in Anaheim either. So
yeah, you're just a kid.
Yeah,
just a kid.
Yeah.
Any party plans for August 16th?
Not that I know of. Actually, you know what? I got. I'm going back to Toronto, and I'm working the King's Plate, which is that weekend. The Canadian version of the Kentucky Derby down here in the States. I'll be working national television there, and I'll be one of the handicappers for the race on the 15th this year, August the 15th. I think we're going to have a filly. That is going to end up probably being the favorite. The name of the horse, the name of the filly is a 3-year-old filly is Luster, ridden by Johnny Velasquez. Trainer is Josie Carroll, one of the great trainers in Canada. So looking forward to getting up there for the King's Plate weekend, and then be back for my birthday. So my wife keeps asking me, Millard, where do we want to go? And I said, well, why don't we go to Red Rock out in Vegas so we can go to T-Bones, and but it's not going to work out that way, because she said, we're going to bring Eddie's family, Tommy's family, my dog. I was like, we'll bring we'll get a sponsor, and we'll and we'll go to Vegas. But I don't know how the 5, the 2, and the 1.5-year-old will do, but. Not that I know of, but we'll probably just have dinner somewhere here. And this one's going to be interesting here. Mr. Shannon, you're almost 60. Millard, you're not even out of your 30s yet. So I'll let you know how it feels once I get to that crazy number of 60.
When I was a kid, you were my favorite player.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. I remember watching Johnny Forsland too when I was a kid.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
all those years. Yeah, like Springfield and all the places he used to call the games, and then in Hartford for all those years, and then obviously a Caniac there, and now in Seattle. So yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, they're going to Forsland's going to miss you, and the people in Seattle are going to miss you. Eddie, you did a great job for them.
I appreciate it. Yeah, Johnny. There's nobody better. And, I wish everybody well there. So it's always great to be with you guys, and look forward to checking in on you guys once we get a little closer to the season. And appreciate you guys giving me a couple of minutes. And really didn't realize that with this planned, I didn't realize that we would have breaking news. So thank you for allowing me to, tell as there are, they do say in the business, Mr. Shannon and Millard, that there are two sides to every story. So thank you for allowing me to tell my side of the story.
We're proud of you. We're happy that you're healthy, and we look forward to this next step, buddy, and seeing you on TNT as well.
All right, guys. Love you guys. Thanks for having me. Keep up the great work. Appreciate it.
Back to wrap it up with John Shannon and Daren Millard, 100% Hockey.
Face-Off Inside the NHL returns, taking you deeper behind the scenes than ever before. See it all from the star-studded Four Nations Face-Off tournament.
Us against the world, boys.
To the adrenaline of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I'm scared of you guys.
With candid interviews and backstage access, experience the sacrifice, the rivalries, and the determination that define NHL greatness.
Just when I thought last year couldn't be topped, here we are.
A new season of Face-Off Inside the NHL. Watch now only on Prime Video.
Funny, when Eddie was talking about the King's Plate, I was thinking, isn't it the Queen's Plate? I did a couple of those telecasts back in the day, but
I got news for you.
Change of monarchy, yeah.
I got news for you. The Queen's dead.
Yeah.
Okay, she died.
I only ever knew it as the Queen's Plate, and I never thought they'd change it.
You're of the generation, right?
Yeah.
And so am I. That the monarch was always the Queen. So it was the Queen's English, the Queen's Plate. And now it's the King's English and the King's Plate. So, it'll be now we got a new show, 100% horse racing. So,
well, to that end, my first Queen's Plate, I was part of the broadcast with Rob Black, and at the end of the show, everybody goes around and you pick your winner. And Blackie's like saying, you're a goalie. There's a horse named Great Defender. You got to take Great Defender, Millard. You got to take Great Defender. So I go on and I'm Great Defender. It's perfect. There's a good sprinter, can get out to the lead. Well, don't you know, Great Defender is crossed the finish line in the lead the first time around. And the second time around barely gets back and then falls over. Great Defender was all right, but actually fell over after crossing the line, finished dead last, but was alive at the end. It was that was a sign that maybe horse racing wasn't for me.
I saw Rod yesterday.
He's doing good. He was out at Cabot the other day playing golf.
Yeah, I know. He's living the life of Riley with his new book out. So he's a bestseller. According to him, it's a bestseller.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
He comes from the school of Doug.
Yeah, there's only one Doug. Although Blackie's pretty close.
Well, I've never seen anything like Rod. He would swoop in at the last minute and be flawless. Like the most talented broadcasters I've ever worked with. Just beautiful and not an air of panic around him. I always wondered how he did it.
Well, he panicked, but you just didn't see it. You just didn't see it. I
the
did a lot
producer
of,
was panicking.
Yeah, tell me about it. I did a lot of hockey with Rod. I did Olympics with Rod, and we had a great time. We're still good friends. So he's a good broadcaster, and I was at a charity event yesterday, and Rod was the master of ceremonies. And you're right, without a single note, one single note, carried the night for about 15 or 16 minutes. It was just fantastic. So
we got to get him on 100% hockey. He's got a couple of stories.
Yeah, as long as we can get him to stick to hockey. We got to get him to stick because he's one of those guys that, squirrel. He might he might jump all over the place. By the way, on Thursday, Travis Green, head coach of the Ottawa Senators, coming on the show.
Oh, he'd be good.
I think so. He's got a bit of a challenge in the old nation's capital.
A little bit different team. What it'll be like? It might be easier to coach that team.
Well, there's my first question.
Mm-hmm. Can I steal it?
I was going to say I was going to use somebody's name there, but I decided not to.
Thanks for listening. I appreciate Eddie Olczyk joining us. Blackie's in our thoughts along with Travis Green. Looking forward to that. It's 100% Hockey with Millard and Shannon. Talk to you next time.